can do whatever the Hyundai you want.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose.
Hey, this is Kenny Rose, and you're listening to
The Fuel Pod.
This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unmasked, and
Ooh, we're going crazy. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 59 of the Fuel Pod. Mick Jones, Nick My Pudding, which of course is a Dropkick Murphy song if you're not into that. And the reference I was just thinking about, obviously Danny Ricciardo coming back to Formula One, and how he basically nicked Nick DeVries's ride. So anyway, not a big deal. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix. We're going to talk about upgrade packages. We got some pretty good rip from the paddock information. In a few minutes, I'll be joined by F1 Farmer. As soon as he makes it home, he's running a little bit behind this evening. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about some Goodwood Festival of Speed. Diddy, I know if you're out there watching, he had a good time watching that this weekend. It's an excellent festival if you're just into just motorsport culture in general and just absolutely classic cars and world-class drivers. He got hit with a lot of rain this weekend. We'll discuss that here shortly. But obviously the big thing on the agenda is the Hungarian Grand Prix. We've only got 2 races left until the summer break. So we have this one and then my favorite, which is Spa, the Belgium Grand Prix. Definitely looking forward to that. It's my birthday weekend, so that's kind of cool to have my favorite race of the year on my birthday weekend. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But watching the run up to Hungary this weekend, and there's a lot of stuff out there, but of course everything is Daniel Ricciardo is back. And if you've been listening to this show at all or watching this show at all, we're huge Danny Rick fans, obviously, but it's kind of dominated, and we knew it would. It's kind of dominated the news cycle for this weekend, and maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it has. And everybody's talking about these laps he ran in the RB19, the Red Bull car at Silverstone, for the Pirelli tire test, and how he would have been on the front row for the British Grand Prix. But one thing I'd like to remind everybody, he was in a Red Bull, not an AlphaTauri. This car is notoriously difficult to drive. If you watch the weekend warm-up, and instead of listening to Laura Winter talk about the Hungarian GP and Daniel Ricciardo, just watch Sam Collins. He's the tech guy for F1 TV. Just watch the facial expressions he makes every time they mention that car. And that'll pretty much answer everything you need to know. So it's not good with brakes, and you're talking about going into a track that is a lot of low-speed corners and hardly any straights. So it's going to be an interesting drive for Daniel. I don't think he has an expectation other than finishing the race this weekend, and that's the way it should be. It's his first race back. Let him enjoy the pomp and the revelry of being part of an F1 team again. But anyway, let's talk about this race weekend, and let's talk about who's looking good coming into this weekend. So the first team I think is looking pretty good, and specifically one of the drivers is McLaren. They looked great at Silverstone. Both drivers did. Lando got the better of the deal with that one, ending up on the podium, and Piastri just a step off. But Lando's it seems like he's trying to watch the comments he made to the press on the run up to this race. Seems like he's trying to temper expectations quite a bit, that it won't be as good here as it was at Silverstone, and that very well may be true, because like I said, this is a crazy track compared to Silverstone. It's not a John Daly would laugh at this, but it's not a grip it and rip it track like Silverstone. But I still think that I still think that it's going to be a good race for them. And if you guys hold on just a second, apparently I have to invite F1 Farmer again because StreamYard did not just grandfather him in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But while I'm doing that, let's just talk about McLaren. They obviously brought the upgrade package. The crazy irony of this weekend is that Red Bull has a shot at taking the record outright for consecutive wins at 12. Right now they're tied with, guess who? McLaren at 11. So hold on, let me send that off. Okay, there we go. They're tied with McLaren at 11. So the funny thing is that McLaren has a chance to play spoiler this weekend and defend their own record. And that, defending their own records, Chad's, holy crap, too much McLaren talk. That's why I'm talking about McLaren, Chad's, because you're not here. I don't want to upset your unstable mangina. But I think Lando will do fine this weekend. I predicted him on the podium, and we'll get to that shortly. But Red Bull has an upgrade package this weekend, and I know Sam Collins was walking through the paddock and didn't really get a good look at the car, but apparently the side pods have changed, and there's a radiator duct change, and somehow they were able to work that around, their restriction on wind tunnel testing because the radiator duct doesn't have anything to do with wind tunnel testing. But anyway, they're saying that they've picked up another 0.2 of a second of pace. Folks, they didn't need 0.2 of a second. They were already fast, as everyone that watches F1 racing knows. They were fast enough. But now they're going to get an extra 0.2, and they'll probably get more. Knowing and Max won this race last year after doing a complete 360 in front of Charles Leclerc. So anyway, there we are. So that's Red Bull. Another one, I want to see what Alex Albon can do this weekend. He has impressed me week after week, and the weird thing is I'm not a Williams fan and not really a huge Alex Albon fan, but he's growing on me. So, looking forward to Eric still hasn't added himself to the stream, so I'm going to add him in here.
Greetings and salutations.
What's up, man? So we're talking about, first off, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And we're talking about who's looking good coming into this weekend, and I've already discussed McLaren and Red Bull, and I'm talking about Alex Albon right now, and I kind of want to see what he can do again this weekend. Although I think this track is going to be tough on that Williams car.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm really curious to see what a few of those teams with some major upgrades are going to do. We got so many teams on the grid with major update packages that have come in the last race or two, or even some come in this race as well. That's all a good thing, though. It means unexpected results, which we always love.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is going to be another weekend where Logan Sargent has a hard time because it's his first time here, and it's not an easy track. So it's one of those tracks where you're kind of always turning or in some state of turning. Your best shot is down the front stretch, but it's already too late at that point at the start finish line. Once you hit the start finish line, you're pretty much turning until you get back to the start finish line. So a lot of low speed corners, and it's going to be tough on certain cars. One car I don't think it's going to be tough on is the Aston Martin, which I think will excel this weekend. It's also go ahead.
Red Bull and Aston both low speed corners will be good for them.
Yeah. Alonso's first win was at this Grand Prix, by the way.
Ever? First win ever?
Ever.
No kidding.
First win ever. Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, he's the one I picked in your poll, so.
Oh, okay. Well, so did I. That's who I picked, even though I wasn't allowed to vote.
Fair.
So I had to cheat the system to vote. I actually voted on the Fuel Pod Twitter account since I sent the poll on my Twitter account.
Sure.
So if you haven't heard, we have a poll out there about who we think will finish higher this weekend, and you've got choices basically from all the number twos. So you have Lando Norris as an option. You have Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, and George Russell. So, get on Twitter, follow me at jneil729, and that poll is up there. Just send us your answer. You got a couple days left. I think, well, by tomorrow morning, you'll have 1 day left, but, one to get it in before the race weekend.
Yeah.
The other team that I want to talk about is Ferrari. Fred Vasseur's already, confessed to the fact that they were too conservative at Silverstone. At Hungary, you cannot be conservative. He said they're going to not be, so we'll see how that goes. And then the drivers themselves are worried, and they should be, because it seems like week in and week out we're talking about tire deg when we're talking about Ferraris. They got a blazing fast car, but the tires are just getting chewed up.
Yeah, they got that 1 lap pace, but the race pace is a whole different deal. Totally different.
Yeah. And it's weird you said that too, because the other team that has the 1 lap pace is Haas, who is also in a Ferrari.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about who's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So different. So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting, though. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Let's talk about who's going to be on the back foot this weekend. And I've got a weird one because I'm going to be doing some serious, shameless Danny Rick promoting later. But I think Yuki is going to be on the back foot this weekend, and he doesn't handle change well.
No.
And I think there's just been so much upheaval in that team. And regardless of how competitive these guys are, Yuki's one of those guys that always bonds with his teammate. He did it with Gasly. He didn't want to see Gasly go.
Mm-hmm.
He had nothing but praise for Nick DeVries this week. Although I know him and Danny Rick also get along if you watch the weekend warm-up for Miami last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think he's torn. I really do.
I think Yuki's going to do nothing but grow and learn from this whole deal with Danny. He knows it's a temporary thing. I don't think it's going to intimidate him, make him worry about his seat, anything like that. And I don't see Danny Rick signing a 3-year contract with Toro Rosso, nor Toro Rosso wanting Danny Rick for a 3-year contract or anything like that. So it's definitely a temporary thing, and it's going to be healthy for everybody, the team and Yuki and Danny.
And folks, I'm sorry. F1 Farmer is showing his Formula One age by calling them Toro Rosso still.
Hey,
so AlphaTauri.
Yeah,
you could have said Minardi. That would have been bad.
Yeah, that would have been real bad.
Yeah. So anyway, and I don't think Yuki's worried about Danny. I don't think that's going to be his issue. I think it's just going to be too much change in that team in 1 week. And as I mentioned, I think Logan Sargent's going to struggle because it's a difficult track and it's his first time there. So, I just think he's going to have a hard time. But, dude, what are your predictions for the podium this week?
I mean, everybody knows P1. If Checo doesn't have a qualifying collapse, P2. If Checo does have a qualifying collapse, I think you're looking at either an Aston or a McLaren. I don't know who. It would either be Lando or Fernando, but which team I'm not sure. And beyond that, hopefully a Ferrari. Maybe Carlos up there. I don't see Carl being there. I don't think his head's put together right now. I don't think he's going to pull the result that Carlos could, especially at that track. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it, but I think Carlos probably has a little better chance than that. And it's always good when we see 3 constructors on the podium, But that all really comes down to whether Checo chokes in quality or not.
Yeah, and I think that hinges on a lot of things because obviously the pressure, at least whether it's real or just imagined, the pressure of having Danny Rick back on the grid it's got to put pressure on Checo. Even though Horner has done nothing but try to support Checo this week, and I'm saying that Danny Rick's dream job is a seat back at Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be
I
interesting.
think Horner has been specific in his comments that Checo doesn't have to worry about next year.
Yeah, didn't say nothing about the year after that though.
But there's a couple other guys coming up on big contract ends in 25 as well, and in that same year, you're looking at from what the rumors say, at least 2 teams with Andretti Cadillac and Audi. So
It'll be interesting. Plus, Red Bull will be with Ford.
Well, when the number of seats available increases, that changes the game a little bit.
Oh yeah, it'll make silly season into just psychotic season. So
yeah,
I mean, you're throwing a lot of other people. You got Liam Lawson waiting in the wings with Red Bull, driving in Japan right now.
Yeah, and the young Japanese kid that's driving for Iwasa. That's driving for Red Bull, and he's just absolutely killing it in F2, amongst some others. Vest.
You got to look across the pond at IndyCar too, man. You got Palou, you got Pato O'Ward, you got Colton Herta. They've all been named.
Yeah.
In the F1 business.
Colton's days are done. I don't think he'll ever get one. I think Alex is another story. If anybody has a chance, it's probably Alex in the immediate, just because of the form that he's in.
Right.
Connections wise, it's obviously Pato, right? But
yeah.
But Pato's not in the form. He's not making the right decisions at the moment. He's not finishing all the races like he needs to be. He's having a little bit of a Grosjean moment, and I'm a huge Pato fan. I hate saying that.
I know you are.
I love Pato, and I love McLaren. But I think Alex would be the only likely one for the 25 or 26 season.
Yeah, but Pato still had him and Herta both had a top 10 this past weekend.
Sure.
With Indy. I mean, it's kind of a misleading top 10, but
it is.
Yeah.
It is. But at the same time, you look at what Alex is doing in IndyCar this year, and at least for considering it's a spec series, he's kind of behaving a little Max Verstappen-ish,
Yeah.
He's really just kind of running the show. He may not get it every weekend, but he's kind of doing the Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Jimmy's no longer there. So
definitely the Jimmy Johnson. I'll give you that for sure. Somebody has to fill that gap.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time for our next segment as we move into. Oh shoot, I didn't even do my predictions, dude.
Which, by the way,
I did not do them at all.
I don't have a list in front of me, so I'm winging.
Oh, okay. So my predictions are obviously Max Verstappen although I heard somebody call him Max, please stop him. But he's going to be my P1. I'm with you, man. And I normally would go a different way, but I think Lando or Alonso could end up depending on turn 1 and depending on a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to go crazy on the limb just so I can say I said it. But I'm going to put Danny Rick up there on 3, even though there might be zero shot in hell that'll happen. Danny, I'm voting for you, buddy. I'm pulling for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
how good would that be for the sport?
Oh man, how crazy would it be if he could say, "Look, I just took as far as constructors go, I just took a car that definitely is the bottom of the rung, probably the slowest car on the grid, and made it, landed a podium." Which, man, it can happen. A couple years ago when Ocon won Hungary, I mean, of course, there were 8 drivers that ended up DNFing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mess, but he still won, man, and a win's a win.
Well, and if we go back just a little ways too, this is not just a modern era thing. Hungary has been a surprise track for a lot of things. You go back, you had I believe it was Force India in its early days had a pole at Hungary, maybe Hulkenberg. Can't remember exactly. But it has always generated some surprise results because it doesn't fit into the development strategy the whole season. Like you talked about, slower speed corners, less high speed, more mid and low speed. It's always generated some neat stuff and one-off wins like Ocon. Ocon could not have done that at Silverstone.
No way.
Yeah, he could not have done that at Baku.
But there's any number of tracks starting with Hungary that he could have done that.
Sure.
I think George Russell showed that, even though that year we had what can only be described as the worst Grand Prix and definitely worst Spa Belgian Grand Prix of all time when it got rained out.
Non-existent.
But even if it went under rain and all wets, George Russell would put himself in a really, really great position for that. So
that was on merit.
Yeah. And I think Spa's another one of those tracks where you can get by with stuff in a slower car.
Yeah.
But anyway, that being said, that's our predictions for the weekend. If you haven't downloaded the app F1 Play, we started a Fuel Pod League on there. So hit me up on Twitter if you need the code. And I put it on my Twitter with the code. And join us and start doing your predictions. I know we're a little late to the party. But I know at least 5 of us are on there now with our predictions for the week starting this week. But let's move into Rip from the Paddock, where we take articles mostly from the Formula One website, don't read them, and then just discuss what we think the article says. So the first one that I have is Ricciardo and Norris, the former teammates, with all eyes on them in Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a crap article. I don't think either one of them care that they're both on the grid, and I'm not saying they're being mean or insensitive. They both got jobs to do, and I think all eyes on them has nothing to do with them being former teammates and everything to do with the fact that Lando has a car that works now, and Danny Rick is back on the grid.
That's it. I agree. Yeah.
So
that's the
yeah, but people are going to make a fuss out of what they want to make a fuss out of. Now, dude, this is something you and I actually talked about the other night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to laugh when I read this one, but this was right from the website. Alpine announced new brand CEO as Laurent Rossi is moved to special projects. We were literally talking about this the other night. I was like, dude, this guy, once Ryan Reynolds and Michael B. Jordan and their money gets there, Lawrence out.
Yep.
So, having watched Wrexham FC on Hulu and saw what Ryan Reynolds and McElhenney did with that team, the first thing they did was a clear out, man, and just kind of create the drawing board all over again. And it worked. I think they showed that it worked. And I said this the other night talking to you, but Laurent Rossi is just the worst kind of boss. I mean, he's the one that just comes into the room and says, make it work. Here's what I want you to do. I'm not going to tell you anything else. I just need this to work.
He's Enzo Ferrari.
Or you're gone.
Control.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at world-class drivers like Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly and saying, hey, I need you to be on the podium in 1 week. It's not realistic, man. It's retarded.
Well, and it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how no matter how much money you spend, no matter who you hire, it takes time to catch up with people that are doing it the best in the world.
Yes. And it takes a whole team with everybody contributing. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I'm the new guy. Get your shit together or you're out. That's not leadership, man. That's not what that is at all. So I'm glad to see him gone. I hope special projects means out on the street. It probably doesn't. They probably got him going somewhere. So, Chuck made a really good comment there. I'll throw that up there.
I can't see it.
Can you see it now? I just threw it up.
Yeah.
But I look forward to seeing. I don't know who the new CEO is because we didn't read the article, hence the Rip from the Paddock. But I will obviously, after the show, try to find out what that is. But the last one I have, and I found this one very interesting and also funny. But the quote is, "I never wanted him to leave." Verstappen gives his take on potential future reunion with Ricardo at Red Bull. Now, if that isn't just slapping the Perez in the face, dude, hey, I don't know what is.
But to be fair, I'm sure Checo gets that, and he understands the only reason that Danny took that opportunity is called 40 million euro a year.
Yeah.
There's not him on that grid that wouldn't have taken that.
Yeah, you're even Max probably, but
Max probably making 5, maybe 8 million a year. Yeah. Danny gets an offer as a number 2 driver to come over to a works team for 40+ million euro a year, which is greater value than the dollar.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the perks were significant as well.
I'm sure he had everything. I'm sure he probably got private plane usage and all that whole bit.
I think he got the Vettel treatment, like Seb did at Ferrari. They just flat bottomed.
Well, I'm sure that became the name of a package. I'm sure as a driver you could probably go, "Hey, I want the Vettel package."
Yeah, no shit.
Usually anybody that sets the precedent, that is named after them, no matter what line of work or sport you're in. So, yeah, I'm sure he just said, "Hey, I'll take the Vettel package and we can go."
Yeah, sure.
But for all those people out there that Drive to Survive was your gateway to Formula One, and the way they played that season 1 drama between Max and Danny, even although even a smart person watching that show realizes that, read between the lines and was like, this is just Danny.
Yeah.
I mean, I realized there was the Baku incident where they rear-ended each other and they were both out, and yeah, but I mean it has happened to so many teams. I think immediately I think of Rosberg Hamilton, the dual spin out in the gravel.
Vettel Weber, Turkey, 2010.
Yeah. Vettel has a few of them, dude.
Multi 21, Seb. Multi 21.
Yeah, Alonso has a few of them. And I think one of them was with Hamilton.
remember Alonso parking in the pit stall during qualifying? So Lewis couldn't make it back around. Ron Dennis runs up to his trainer and rips his headphones off of his head. You come here. It's on video of it. But guess what? He did it on purpose, and he smiled when he denied it the whole way.
Yeah, and here's the thing now. Max Verstappen at such a young age has already reached the point where he has nothing to prove.
Nothing.
He's got to be happy as a dog in a hubcap factory pretty much week in and week out. You know what I mean? So I don't think he really cares. So if, Danny Rick ends up on Red Bull, it's like, hey, buddy, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then he quotes Jester from Top Gun and just points at Danny and says, never, ever leave your wingman. And that's it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, man, that's it for Formula One moving into the weekend. I'm really looking forward to, of course, I won't get to watch it live, which is like just chapping my ass right now, but looking forward to seeing Danny Rick in free practice.
Yeah.
There right before I came on too, there was something new about qualification this weekend. I didn't get to read up on it or know, but some kind of new process.
So I have 3 things on my little talking points list. Shall we hit a few of those?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the deal with the qualifications is for this race, and this is a test type thing, kind of like how sprints were the first time around. But they had initially planned to do this at
real quick. Thanks for joining, Batty 452.
Hey, Batty, how you doing, man? We got to see some new things tried with sprint. I think it's cool. As much as we all hated it, it has created some interesting things to talk about, some different things that happen. And I think they're taking some of the lessons learned with that when it comes to tire restrictions, and they've applied that to a regular race weekend. So in qualifying, in Q1, everyone must run hards. Q2,
really
run mediums. Q3, everyone must run softs.
Dude, that's going to be interesting.
Yes, it is. And on top of that, they're now only allocated 11 sets per weekend instead of 13. And that's because they don't have the option. So instead of people playing around with that, and this is all barring any form of inner or full wet usage, but
yeah,
it's definitely going to change the way in which people, it's going to be pace only. So you're not going to see Red Bull in Q1 out there on a scuffed hard. The set usage will be far less critical for them come race time because they simply don't have the choice.
I was getting ready to say, dude, that's going to change. For your standard watcher, it's not our viewer. It's not going to be a big deal, but you're not going to be able to, have a couple set of scrub softs or mediums in your in your cart.
That's right. And the qualifying sets are the qualifying sets.
Oh, okay, so they're just set aside.
Well, it's only 3 sets.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you transfer. So if you only have Q1, now you have a spare set of mediums and softs.
Oh, shit.
Right.
And yeah, but if you don't transfer, the likelihood of you starting on hards is higher anyway because you're going to want to run longer than everybody to try to get up there.
Yeah.
So,
but that being said, the guys that went all the way to Q3, anybody that wants to be in the top 10, they've got to burn a set of softs.
Wow, man, that's a big deal. I wish I'd have got a chance to read that before we came on, but
I'll the update on it. It's very interesting. Another thing I don't want to forget that I wanted to talk about, which I know we're a little more F1 and a little bit of IndyCar this week, but Shane Van Gisbergen is driving NASCAR again at the Indy road course. And I can't wait to see him hand out another "I told you so."
Is he driving for Project 91 again, or
that I don't know for a fact. I imagine Chuck probably knows. He'll chime in here in a second.
Okay. So man, let's move on to our just our motorsport culture stuff and talk about the Goodwood Festival of Speed. So, obviously the weather was bad.
Wait. Chuck?
Uh-oh. We have a reporter from 10 feet away.
Yes, but we don't know what that meant.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, we're getting into our Festival of Speed wrap-up from Goodwood. Weather was bad. I think it got rained out the rest of Saturday afternoon and Sunday. But not before we got to see some absolutely wonderful cars and some absolutely ugly cars and some absolute cars into hay bales times. So I want to just go, man, and tell me, what your top favorite cars were to see.
For this particular year, are we talking the hill?
This particular year.
I mean, the obvious would be to say the Solus, but that doesn't do much for me.
Okay.
Not because it's not an amazing thing, but just because they do that a lot. These guys are starting to build these one-offs for things like that, and that's fine. It's like the Veneno with Lamborghini, or the Sesto Elemento, more importantly, back from the late 2010s, but they're basically concept cars, So if I just have to go with vehicles that I just love to see as a car guy, watch TV and get my rocks off to hearing something, seeing something, you got to love the Sperling on the modern car.
Oh, bro. That thing blew me away, man.
But aside from that, put me on the spot. I mean, probably Red 5. It's got to be up there. The FW14B from 1993.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, that would have been 92 because it's a Mansell car.
Yeah.
But there, and also its compatriot, the Ricardo Patrese car, was also there for the weekend. Didn't get much press because it's not Nigel's car. But,
right.
Nigel driving the car up the hill was really cool. In his period helmet, all of that. I love that. Your teammate, right?
Yeah, my teammate on F-123,
But
who I can't stand right now. I would love for him to,
because he's good.
Get transferred to a different team.
Still the only man that ever did, and I'm sure ever will, win the IndyCar and Formula One championships consecutively.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worth its weight in gold right there, literally.
Yeah. Didn't he not win Indy that year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same year.
Yeah.
So my picks, and I had a few of them, and some honorable mentions. So I love the fact that Goodwood always opens itself up to a lot of different forms of racing, which is, kind of how I am with motorsports in general. But it was cool to see the Mad Bull, Red Bull RX-7 driven by Mad Mike, and them showing some props to drift, because you don't get a lot of props in drift, and it was cool to see that. It was also cool to see them take the NASCAR Garage 56 Le Mans Camaro back to Goodwood and let Jensen Button drive that thing, and just the feedback you could hear from the European fans over there, just like at Le Mans, where they were like, "Man, this thing sounds like a beast." And of course, he was doing like just brutally epic burnouts, so they could hear that engine roar. So that was a big one for me. You already mentioned I just put on here the Mansell F1 and Sebastian Vettel. Just seeing Seb drive a car again was great. But my honorable mentions were obviously the McMurtry, the Spearling, the Hoonatron. I loved that car. It was kind of retro, very cyberpunk. I kind of liked that a lot. The Ferrari KC23. I was kind of torn. I really liked the chassis on that car. It looks cool. I'm not so sure about that front grille, but it was a cool looking car and I liked it. And the new Aston Martin, I thought that thing looked slick. It was so slick.
I have to follow your favorites from Goodwood up with some Goodwood back markers, if I may.
Oh, dude, I've actually got a category on here it's called the Uglies.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, oopsie.
Oh, go for it.
Somebody, not sure who it was. I remember reading the name. It wasn't a big enough name that I retained it. Driving I believe it would have been 91 Leighton House. Adrian Newey's first real design in an F1 car.
And they spun it.
Backed it up, wrapped it up.
Wonder what the dollar amount was on that damage.
The 95 McLaren F1 LM just flat drove it off the road like a blue hare going to the buffet. No rhyme, no reason, just stupid. Probably $40 million car.
Yeah, didn't even try to make that turn, by the way.
What was that? Just fell off the right side of the pavement and never came back.
Yeah, it looked like the left side tires locked up and just went straight.
And then in the races, you have a 250 GTO, probably $100+ million car getting racked into the tire wall and basically ruining half the car.
Yeah.
I love seeing them driven in anger, but let's remember, we don't have many of these left.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty soon they're going to just have to put, 3D printed cars on turntables. This is what this car used to look like.
That's 3 crashes that could potentially, depending on the market, cost $250 million.
Yeah. And also drive the price of the existing ones up even higher.
Oh, yeah.
So, big deal. But my uglies, I only have one, and it's the Lamborghini Revolto, which I think it should be changed to the Lamborghini Revolting.
Yeah,
it was a revolting look. It feels like Lamborghini never does anything, never does a monumental change, dude. They all look the same.
You have all these other car makers going retro.
Yeah.
Lamborghini has refused to. I want a new Miura.
Yeah.
Give me a Miura.
Well, I even said, give me a new Murcielago. I like the Murcielago. I thought that was a sweet looking ride.
That's already a 25-year-old car.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm done with the Diablos and the Countaches and then whatever the piece of shit this thing was. It looked like, but anyway. So this next is a debate topic, and it comes from Chuck actually, even though he doesn't know until I'm about to say it.
Get him.
But this debate topic is the donut. And the debate, because it's such a polarizing subject amongst motorsports fans. There's no middle ground with the donut. It's usually people either like them or hate them. And I come down in a very specific way on this topic. And I agree that cars that don't normally do donuts anyway should probably not do donuts. I get that. But there are racing series that require the donut. There's some in-town super stages in rally, in WRC, in the championship, that require the donut.
Yeah.
Drift, obviously. Donut's a huge piece of drift. Putting a bale in the middle of the track and making you do a donut around it, just like rally does.
Sure.
But I agree with Chuck on the fact that seeing an F1 car do donuts outside of, hey, I've already won the race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of it from that standpoint. So where do you come down on it?
I'm a product of my environment.
Yeah, literally.
I agree with Chuck.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't like it. Here's the thing. I love doing a donut.
Yeah.
I don't give too much of a shit about watching somebody else do it.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm not judging anybody.
There is value in them. It's just, where do you find the value? And like I said, celebrating a race, go for it.
Yeah.
NASCAR, F1, I don't care who you are, do some donuts. Hell yeah. In fact, this reminds me of Alex Zanardi, who to this day did the greatest donut and did for a very long time you'll ever see in an open wheel car. I'll never forget the roll hoop camera looking down in the Target Ganassi car in kart, pre-champ kart.
Yeah.
And he's doing such a perfect donut that both front wheels are turning opposite directions at the same speed. It's pivoting perfectly around his feet. And I have talked about that donut, and so has a few other people that are fans of it forever. And so I guess I can't say I'm a total unfan of the donut.
Yeah, and I was also a huge Ken Block fan, so I liked watching him do. I mean, the guy created his own series of motorsport, Gymkhana, and the donut's a big piece of that. And so for the sports where it is required, definitely a proponent of it. I think it breaks the monotony of drift races. I think it breaks the monotony of rally races. These guys are driving and they're taking sweeping turns and hairpins or whatever, but then throw a donut around the tree in the middle of there, it can throw off the rest of their run. So
although you talk about drifting, if you go to the heart of what drifting is and why it is what it is and why the rules are what they are, it goes back to Touge.
Yeah.
And there's no old Touge guy that would be on board on the donuts. They're just too anal retentive about perfection.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not an unhealthy thing. It's just we're seeing an evolution in what people consider entertaining, as well as what's acceptable as a motor sport, right? As opposed to an art form, which I consider things like Touge and drifting to be a motor's art form.
Yeah.
Much a motor sport.
I disagree, but I respect your opinion.
Well, to me, a sport is something that you can become seriously injured in. Everything else is a game.
Okay.
I'm feeling from Hemingway there a little bit. But.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, moving on to Fuel Pod news. We obviously had an IndyCar race this weekend. The the other Honda race in Toronto. Guys,
Yes.
if you're a Formula One fan, Christian Lundgaard, who's now an IndyCar driver, won a frickin' race.
And the pole.
And the pole, which I put on there. He was a winner and started from pole.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to say that now Christian Lundgaard can add his name to the list of former F1 drivers who have won an IndyCar race. I feel like the only one left at this point is Grosjean, and it seems to be getting worse before it gets better.
Well, he can also add himself to the list of former owners of a really lame-looking mustache.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I was hoping he'd shave it in victory lane. That was right for the picking, and nobody had clippers handy. What is up with that? He got pole, and you didn't go buy clippers?
Yeah. If he'd been an American driver, yeah, they probably would have been sitting there, and he had the big 70s porn stash going. They would have had it ready.
Go in with the John Holmes.
Yeah. But anyway, the other guys that came in, starting with P2, just to round out the top 10, we had Palou, of course, who's been tearing it up lately, and it's not like P2 is going to hurt his record any. Colton Herta, Dixon, Newgarden, McLaughlin, Armstrong, Award. I feel like this Rahal is a kind of a weak P9 because it seemed like he had a really rough day. And then obviously Rosenquist had a rough day and still came in P10. So
definitely for Graham, yeah.
Yeah, and you're starting to see something that you already see in Formula One where it seems like it's the same 10 guys.
Yeah, well, and you had Bloomquist in there too. So
yeah.
Who, by the way, is the son of Stig Bloomquist, one of the best turbo-era Renault Quattro rally guys.
Yeah.
Group B rally monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, and I stopped at the top 10. Marcus Ericsson, I think, got 11th. But, but yeah, it's starting to seem like it's the same group of guys. But it was cool seeing Lundgaard up there. And good luck to him. But next week they've got Iowa, or this weekend, sorry.
Yes.
For the Hy-Vee 250. Kind of a unique track. Plus it's in Iowa. So, I'm not saying that the walls are made out of corn, but here we are.
Unique.
So funny story. Nicholas Latifi reached out to the Latifi Nation, all 7 of them, and said that he is basically retiring from racing right now and is going back to the London School of Business to finish his education. So
apparently found an offer from Toto Wolff to be mentored in business by him.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with that Sofina money, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me bring Go Tiffy on board here. Let's see what else we can wire into this group.
Well, yeah, Acra money's already in there from Mick, so I don't know that there was room for that.
Yeah, let's face it, that's the only reason Mick's got a job.
You're damn right.
Yeah. So, and then last but not least, man, we I don't want to leave out NASCAR. They got the highpoint.com 400 this weekend, and it's at Pocono, and I do love Pocono because it's probably it's the most unique track, I think, as far as, and I'm using air quotes here, ovals, because I mean it's a tri-oval basically, but it's almost equilateral. I mean it's not, but it's a weird triangle.
Straight is a different length, and every corner is a different radius and a different bank.
Yeah, so it's a weird track. I like watching. I've actually been there once, which was cool, but I was much, much younger. We're talking 20 plus years ago. But it should be an interesting race. Last year, Martin Truex Jr. won it. So looking forward to maybe catching that. This is an NBC race, so we can watch it on Peacock if you have Peacock. But anyway, we're about to close out here. I know Chad and I, we started a league on F123. If you're interested in that, hit us up on Twitter, either one of us, or Eric, and Eric can relay it to me. But as you know, F123 is crossplay, so it doesn't matter what you're on. We're setting up races for every Thursday night at 10, whether we show up. Nobody showed up for last week's race, so right now we're still got a clean slate. Nobody's got any points. Tonight's at Baku, Azerbaijan. So it's every Thursday at 10. I think the 9:30 is the when you can first sign into the race. But if you need a code or an invite, just let me know. Eric, you got anything about it?
Chad is having daytime nightmares right now about the castle turn.
He's doing better at the castle turn. It took him a while, man. I kept telling him it's hard to convince somebody to hug the inside of that turn.
It's tough. That is the tightest spot in F1. Monaco doesn't even come close to that little bit there.
Yeah, because you can get squirrely fast.
Well, and it's off camber.
Yeah. Into a blind turn.
If you hit the tire wall to the right, you're bouncing back into the racing line. And it just sucks. But it makes it racing.
Yeah, it does. It's one of my favorite racetracks. And at least top 10. Let's throw it there. But
yeah, it's a
we also have Hungary tonight. He wants to do both of them, but he's kind of crazy as it is.
Man.
Yeah. But so we want to get more people in that league. I think that'd be cool to have a bunch of people in there, even if they're whipping mine and Chad's ass and farmers and just having a good time.
The more the merrier.
So anyway, we're probably going to do that after this. But guys, thank you so much for being part of the 59th episode of I can't believe we're this high. I can't believe next week is number 60, inching ever so close to. I'm like setting my own thresholds, and I'm trying to get to 75, and then I want to get to 100, obviously. But 60 will be just as big of a deal next week, I think, as any of the rest of them. So, Thank you very much for being part of it tonight. Watch Hungary this weekend. If you can't watch it on F1 TV, watch it on ESPN. But please watch it on F1 TV. It's so much better. And enjoy your weekend, guys. Eric, thank you very much.
You bet,
for being here past couple weeks. Look forward to seeing you here next week. Mikey, if you're watching, buddy, we got to get you on here again. It's been a while.
Yeah, you bet.
But you need to be part of this.
To 2 doors down, and we'll be there next week.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Catch you on the flip side. All right, we're still on, but everybody can sign out. It's kind of this weird close, no close. Dude, awesome. That was a good episode, man.
That was good. It, for a non-race weekend, there was a fair amount of shit to talk about. That, and I didn't even hit half the stuff I was thinking about, just because we kind of grazed on them with other stuff. But
right,
like some of that stuff is gonna get real interesting real quick, and Grosjean not finishing another race, man.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's gonna be before he's on the hot seat for that. And he'll end up in like WEC next. It'll be World Endurance Challenge, or he'll try to make IMSA since he can stay in the US.
I was just gonna say, I think he'll go IMSA or hell, I could see him keeping an IndyCar ride at a lower team for quite a while too. Yeah.
Dude, I could see him buying into an Indy team and becoming a part owner.
I have a name call back in 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh, wow. I was humming the closing music. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to get off here. I think Eric said he's going to be back in 30 seconds, and I might be gone before that. So it's hard to tell. Who knows? Can't close out of this though.
All right, we're back.
Yeah. Well, Bubba, I'm about to get off here and see if I can sign into this league and see what it looks like since we missed last week's race.
Cool. You said it's crossplay. That's a platform thing, right? That doesn't mean I can play with 22, does it?
No, you have to be on 23.
Yeah.
Because they set it up now. You can't even create a league from in the game. You have to go to their website and do it.
Yeah.
And then it pushes the league to your game from the website.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but it'll be up on. We'll have it up on Twitch, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we'll hop on there and watch a little bit for sure. Mikey gonna join y'all?
He can't. He doesn't. Man, dude, he wherever he lives, they don't have very good internet apparently. So, man, I'd love that for him. I mean, I know he's been playing F1 21. They got it on a bargain deal at GameStop, and he's been playing that, and him and his daughter love it. So,
I knew he was getting into it, and I've still got 21 too, and I've just got 21 too. But I'll have to hit him up, see if he wants to do a little racing once in a while too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, hey, good show, man.
Hey, you too, buddy.
All right, man. Well, I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, man.
Take care.